would say the best way to describe a typical day was a constant learning. Whether you're at the motor pool, and they're all different, or whether you're at the motor pool where you're working on your equipment, or you're at the barracks, working on your weapon systems. It was kind of learning.
And are there any days that are most memorable?
From like the first section,
right, your first couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, we were actually. It was kind of the first mission that we had taken. It was almost 90-10 in terms of ratio. 90% of our platoon and 10% of theirs. So maybe a platoon leader or a platoon sergeant, and then came along, and we got struck with an IED and received fire. So it was kind of one of these first what do you do type of situations, So it's kind of a sloppy. We didn't have enough seats because we had taken people from their platoon. So you realize that despite the fact you'd like to get everybody experience, and everyone wants to go out the wire the first time, you can't fill every seat. And so I actually had a soldier sitting, kind of the equivalent of sitting on the console, riding back to base, and then so it was kind of a get your feet wet experience. It was both scary and.
Did their experience help through that though?
It did. I think it definitely did. But it helped in terms of real technical things like you were traveling from point A to point B. Well, something happened. Well, there's a small fob or cob right here where you can pull in and get things fixed or drop it for the night, or just logistical things as to how you would deal with. Okay, this truck broke down. Put it here and pick it up on the way home. Put it on this base, or put it here.
And how long were you deployed?
15 months.
And over those 15 months, how did conditions change?
Well, they changed dramatically, but we also changed physical location, and I think that had something to do with it. But my sense of it was that it certainly became, I don't know what the word, maybe more aggressive or more dangerous outside and inside as it progressed from August into December, and then certainly February, March, April of 2007 were pretty dangerous months in terms of just number of IED attacks that had hit our company or platoon. That kind of progression, and then it kind of tailed away again towards the end of the summer of 2007.
And that was during the surge, essentially.
That's correct. Yeah, February.
And how did that affect your regular duties on a daily basis?
You could physically feel it on a daily basis. Like we used to, we were stationed at Balad, and then we ran most of our operations out of Fob Warhorse in the Diyala province, and so we would run from Fob Warhorse into Bakuba and back out and in and around, and you could physically see it. Like there would be just miles and miles of convoys waiting to come into these places. The lines of the chow hall, you used to be able to go in and come out, and now it's not like they ran out of food. I mean, they had out MRE, so it was all of a sudden, the lines for the phones and the lines to get in the gate and everything just expanded.
Do you think that was just because the military had been unprepared for that? Had they not planned far enough ahead?
Well, everybody had food, and certainly clothing, and air-conditioned tents. And there was enough ammunition to go around. So maybe you weren't as comfortable as you would like to have been, but I certainly think they had planned it well enough for that. I mean, waiting in line an extra 45 minutes for a phone call or a chow line is kind of minimalist. I mean, So I do think, I don't think that's a reflection of planning. I think it's just that's a lot of people to get through anything.
And did your role change while deployed? And if so, how? In what manner?
My personal role? No, not necessarily. No. I was kind of, I had my squad, and that's pretty much how it stayed.
Did others around you, did you see their role changing, and did it have an effect on your ability to carry out your duties?
Yeah, we did have some change. Some of it planned. We had our platoon leader, our second lieutenant, he was promoted to first lieutenant, and the natural progression, he was moved to a battalion position, and then a new second lieutenant came in. I think he arrived there in about, it would have been May of 2007, so rather late in the deployment. We got a new lieutenant, and I don't think that affected us at all. Not that we liked or disliked either, but not a big difference. We did have a change to the platoon sergeant position. We didn't work well with him as a platoon, and he didn't work well at all. So he was phased out and sent back to the rear. He was a difficult guy to work with. He's a pretty nervous guy, pretty nervous, pretty high strung. Not someone you want in those spots, and just didn't react very well. And I think those things kind of mounted on him, and at some point he was just unable, and admitted as such, that he had lost a handle on the platoon and his ability to give orders. I mean, he literally lost the ability to give orders, and so he was moved, and for a while there was a little bit of flux at the platoon sergeant's spot, which is a pretty big deal. And they ushered someone in who did fine. He actually came in about the same time as the new lieutenant, and once he was established in that position, it was fine. But there was a good period of time, I think it was probably December through March, 4-month period, that first of all was an extremely busy and dangerous time to be doing what we were doing, and coupled it with kind of ineffective at the platoon sergeant spot, so that definitely changed.
What did you find most satisfying about your deployment? Or did you?
No, I did. I enjoyed working with, well, two things, I guess, and they're equal. I enjoyed leading, men, kids, soldiers, period. I hated it at 4 a.m., but I really enjoyed it. I mean, I really liked taking care of what they needed to be taken care of, putting them in a position to be, safe and successful. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the back and forth with them. But I also enjoyed it, but I think that would be true of whether I was back home or not. I just elevated there. Specific to Iraq, I really enjoyed working with Iraqi soldiers. We, as engineers, we would use their engineers and their equipment, and we would haul it for them, and they would be tasked on missions with us as well. So I really liked working with them because they'd be living in the same spots that you were, small command outposts and things like that. So you get to know them and their equipment, and through a translator get to know their stories. And so I really did like that very much. You kind of got a real sense for them. I mean, in terms of IA and IP, I mean, we knew them, here and there. We'd certainly talk to them, but the Iraqi Army engineers, kind of our counterpart. I really enjoyed working with them. So I guess that.
So did you have to interact often with the Iraqi Army then? Were they were the Iraqi engineers part of the Iraqi Army?
They were, yeah.
And did you have a lot of interaction with them?
Yeah, we had a fair amount. We did. We would certainly interact with them every time we went through a checkpoint or, things like that. We ran a lot of joint operations, and so we would meet them, or they would meet us, and then we would travel together. And then the Iraqis